Today I sat down with Stephen Malbon, founder of Malbon Golf, a brand that helped flip the script on what golf looks like, feels like, and who it's for. It started as a creative project turned into a cultural movement, and in this episode we talk about how the evolution happened, from shifting inspiration to trusting your gut and design. Stephen breaks down what it takes to build a brand that actually moves people. Let's get into it. One of my favorite pieces that I put out about the Malbon brand was probably like last year around this time. It was the Malbon Moodboard experience. And I know, like I said, like you're super active in social. It was a 15-minute spot that I did on Instagram. I don't know if you remember this, but
Yeah, kinda.
I I took like a screenshot. I was on like Google Chrome, found a Google Chrome extension that was auto scroll because I was really curious. I think at the time you guys maybe had like 6,500 or 7,000 posts on Instagram, which is wild. And I was like, I wonder what this dude was posting back in the day. Cause you've been on record just talking about how Malbon's been like started out as just a mood board. So I was just really curious on like what some of the look back stuff was. And again, like that auto scroll thing, it probably took a good 45 minutes, an hour to get all the way down to the bottom of the page.
Yeah.
But again, set up like a screen recording of the actual feed and then posted that on IG and it did really well. But I think from that, like it was really interesting to see back in the day, like what you were interested in and like what was catching your attention. And again, like OG Instagram days, the stuff that we shared on the feed was always really interesting too. Like, how can you, from a perspective of like inspiration, like how much has your mode of inspiration like changed over time since the beginning of that IG page to like where we are now?
I mean, now I have like a I have like a burner account, like a IG like burner account that I
Yep.
do the same thing I did at the beginning, and I use it for all of like inspiration and mood boards for different collections, and I'm designing like spring summer 27 right now.
Mm.
And so I still kind of do the exact same thing. It's like I went to vocational school in high school in Virginia Beach, and I learned visual communications. And then I went to art school in Atlanta and learned, graphic design and all of this stuff. But as an artist, like references and research, and like that's the fun part. Like doing the actual graphic design is probably only like 10% of it. So it's how much how how great the design is comes from how great your inspiration was, and like the rabbit holes you went into to find, all of the inspiration. And so when I started in like high school in Virginia Beach, when I started, there were no computers, or we had just starting to learn the Apple computer and such. But like, if you
Mm.
wanted research, and and I did, that was like a huge part of it. You would have to go to the library, and then you would have to Xerox copy, and you would have to resize stuff to go back and then like sketch it and draw it. And the first posters I ever designed were like taping airbrush, Smokey the Bear posters in public high school at vocational school. And so like you would have like the SPCA or the, Wildfire Foundation or whatever Smokey the Bear is, they would come in and they would present to us and pitch, and we would have to then like do go through the ideation and do thumbnails and do hundreds of thumbnails, which would turn into like a dozen renderings. And then from the dozen renderings, there would be two that would be the best of the 100 thumbnails turned renderings turned whatever. But in order to do 100 thumbnails back then, you would have to go to the library, like I said, and
Mm.
photocopy and Xerox and copy and Xerox and like rent books and borrow books and then not lose the book, take the book back. So that's where it all began with me like understanding the importance of reference and history and research and inspiration. And so like I still do it constantly. I just the phone makes it so easy to go down rabbit holes and find like digging and digging and digging and digging and digging and deeper and finding like more and more cool stuff, and then taking all that stuff and putting it into like mood boards and inspiration and storytelling and such, and then using that when I go for a collection. I'll do like like if a collection, if we're designing a collection, it's like I need like two or three all over prints and probably
Mm,
five, six different graphics that could be ball markers or patches or head cover graphics or t-shirt graphics or hat graphics or whatever it may be. So the only way to do that well is to research like crazy. So in some instances, it hasn't really changed from a creative process. I'm just like obviously the cadence of content and the Malbon Goff Instagram went from just the mood board of something I never knew what it would turn into or be into now it's like a very packed schedule of like on Monday we have to post this because then this is happening
mhm,
Tuesday and Tuesday we have to post this. So it's less sporadic. It's a little more like curated in a sense for business needs more than just an inspirational hodgepodge of whatever I felt like posting. But like I said, there is another Instagram that I use internally with the designers and illustrators and freelance people, etc. That
I'm gonna have to get that, handle on the
that one's
side.
lit. That's the one I'm on the most when it comes to that stuff.
I love that. It's funny that you reference the process from back in the day was a lot more, like, hands-on. Like, now through screens and it being, like, digital properties, like, I've also, like, had internal conversations with our team when we're creating even just, like, simple logos and stuff, like, everything feels, when you look at it, very digital. Whereas, like, even a lot of course design, course logo design, stuff like a Burberry, as an example, are very hand-drawn, and I see a lot of that, like, style and heritage in, like, your craft just because you had on, like, those hand moments, whereas you weren't engaging so much in digital properties. Like, how much has that changed? Like, what are your thoughts on just the way that people go about executing quote unquote "art"?
Mean, I design on paper and with my brain, and then I use the computer as an instrument to vectorize it so that I can make it into an embroidery or a screen print, right? Like,
Mhm,
so I'm not, I think when you design with the computer, it looks like you designed with the computer. When you design with your brain and your hands, then it looks like you designed with your brain and your hands. So, like, I I've studied typography and like font and kerning and spacing and like I learned calligraphy so that I would be better at graffiti.
mhm.
Things like that. So like penmanship is historically like one of the most beautiful and fascinating things to me, and that goes from like wedding invites, like handwritten wedding invites, all the way to like graffiti, graffiti and handwriting and just everybody has different handwriting. And so like I understand typography and I love typography. So if I design by hand, it looks like I want it to look. But if I just use the
Yep.
computer, it's just gonna look like I typed a bullshit font that like everyone has. So I don't like
Mhm.
use the computer to design. I like to use my hands and my brain and, research and references for inspiration, not what fonts Adobe loads your Illustrator app with.
No, for sure. That and, like, there's references all around your work too. Like, if you're sitting on a computer, like, it's very tunnel vision. You don't see it up against, this is what I talked about, even just like a podcast cover. A small example of just like, what is this gonna look like against the library of podcast covers? Like, is it gonna stick out? Is it gonna be memorable? Those are all, like, the internal conversations I always have about design.
Yeah, like when I had an agency that I ran in New York City, and I remember one time doing like cereal box design and different food. We had a food client. I was designing different packaging for food. So like print it out, design it, like again, going back to like go from 100 thumbnails to, seven renderings to three that you're not sure about, and then print those three out, glue them to a cereal box, and go in the grocery store and put it
Yep.
on the shelf with the other cereal boxes and see like, does it stand out? Will it
Mhm.
sell? If someone's walking down the aisle, are they going to notice it, or is it going to just blend in with every other thing on the joint? So yeah, it's all like knowing what you're designing it for is important to know what the end result is going to be. Even with my social media team, like we have another burner account that's like private for everything you see that goes on Marvin Goff's Instagram has already been posted on another account, so
Yep.
that I can get on the phone and I can go through it, and the copywriter can go in and people can make notes, and all the image on the fourth slide should be switched with the image on the sixth slide so it tells a better
Mhm.
story or whatever. But like the more time you have to test it in the real world of where it's going to be. So if you're doing a podcast artwork and you know that's going to end up on, YouTube or whatever the hell, like screenshot a YouTube channel and put it in with everything, and do like four or five options so that you'll be able to see which one looks better to you, and a lot of this stuff is like, when I say it looks better to you, there's no one that's going to give you an answer of like which one looks better. It's a
Mhm.
personal taste thing, right? So like if you dressed today and you wore a green hat, you wore a Stussy crew neck, that looks good to you. If you go to the coffee shop and five people say, "Yo, I love your fit. You look great today." Well, then you're just lucky because you didn't
Yep.
dress for the people at the coffee shop to say, "You look great today." You dress for you to look good. So I think a lot of it comes down to like trusting your gut. And if it was the cereal box and putting it next to 40 other cereal boxes and be like, am I presenting this the way that it looks good to me? And then
Mhm.
if other people think it looks good and they grab that versus the Tony the Tiger or the Fruit Loop fucking box, then God bless, you're going to make a lot of money because it works. But if they don't, then they don't. But you can't design for other people, and you can't design to think of like, if I do this, will this person buy it? It's like,
Mhm.
I'm going to do the best work I can possibly do, and good work should take you to good places.
100%. Yeah, I mean the reps are important. Like you said, the world building is also really important. I found, speaking of like art and art direction, I found this tweet that was really interesting. I want to read and get your take on it. But it goes, Virgil has this quote. This is the tweet. You create art so that people can build on top of it. Malbon will be fascinating case study 10 years from now, being the black sheep in the industry that other brands eventually begin building on top of. He's also quoted saying, "What seems preposterous actually becomes a new norm. Time will tell." What's your thoughts on that
Yeah,
take?
and of course, all that's that. I think it's like, I heard something like first they hate it, then they accept it, and then they love it, type of deal, right? And so it's all about like conditioning. And then like I think, I'm a fan of art, I'm a fan of culture, and I'm a fan of design, and like I'm a fan of like every golf brand, which is nuts because when I snowboarded a ton and lived in Colorado, like I only liked one snowboard company.
Mhm.
I didn't like every snowboard company, but like I love TaylorMade, Titleist, Callaway. I love every equipment company. I like Srixon and Bridgestone. I there's not one I don't like. And it's the same. I like all the big clothing brands. I like all the up and coming clothing brands because I love golf so much that like how am I not gonna like students golf? Like
Mhm.
what's wrong with me? How am I not gonna like, you know, RLX? Like I love it. It's not even like a like. I actually love all of these brands. So I think it's just like I feel like it's about doing what you think is right, and trying to like validate and give like permission to be who you are and design and trust your gut, and it's like you have permission to be on the PGA tour.
Mhm.
If we can make it on the PGA tour and we can open stores all over the world, and I can start all this from like a sketch pad and a napkin design, and you know figuring shit out as we go along, then like why can't you, or why can't
Mhm.
so and so?
Do you think there's any like moments or brands that you feel like you're building on top of? I mean, we talked about inspiration, but obviously, like culturally, the sport's changed a lot. Does it feel like any inspiration or moment points where you feel like, as a brand, you guys are building on top of?
I think it's more like not like golf brands, I don't think. I mean,
Yep.
maybe golf brand wise is like Ashworth back in the day, or like there's some for sure that like I'm a fan of all that stuff. So like I don't think it's necessarily more that. I think it's building on top of like, you know, graffiti and skateboarding and and hip hop and like you know, fashion brands and like just taking kind of the different touch points of my life that I live from like, you know, I grew up on a farm, but I was skating and surfing in Virginia Beach. Like that's how I grew up. And my parents, you know, liked Willie Nelson. And then
Mm.
I lived on a naval base and I would start getting mixtapes from like Redman and then NWA at the same time. So like then I like dated a chick who used to tour around with the Grateful Dead, and then I went into that situation, and then I moved to Atlanta after Colorado, and I started fucking with drum and bass and like this whole world, and then back moved to New York City and you know, was a promoter in New York City. So I think it's just building on like everything that has got me to this moment. And
Yep.
obviously, I've been influenced by tons of different cultural stuff from living in Virginia, then Colorado, then Atlanta, New York, LA, and now I'm up in Pebble Beach. So, you know, I'm inspired in Pebble Beach and designing stuff and designing like thinking of like what are me and my wife and kids gonna wear like, you know, next fall when I'm dropping the kids off at school. That
Mhm.
that type of thing. And so yeah, I'm inspired and building upon I just got back from Vietnam and in the Philippines. So like that will be with me. That's something I can build on. You know, it's not like that's going to go away just because I flew back to San Fran. So, like, that stuff I just got inspired by will then turn into something into the future.
No, for sure. I love that. And I have like a few questions as it relates to Tinker Hatfield, but his like whole ethos on how he designs is like you guys are very similar in the sense of sketch pads and experiences that wind up in your work from an execution standpoint. Something that's always been funny, like I get a lot of DMs from people that are looking for specific brands that like land in these different boxes. And the way that I've always, like, described Malbon is as, like, a mixtape, which is funny that we just got done talking about
Yeah.
music, like, it feels very experimental, almost like freestyle, even like OG back in the days when you're saying when it's a little bit more sporadic. Obviously, like, there's still structure in mixtape. On the opposite end, you have an Adidas that feels like an album brand. It's more polished, there's way more money and way more structure behind all of it. It feels like from drop to drop, everything kinda flows together, but and I think in these worlds, like, both are necessary. Like, is there a specific way that you and your team has, like, described the brand over time? Has it changed at all?
You know, it's like I'm almost 50, I'm 48 years old. And so I've been inspired by a ton of stuff. So, like, I'll give you an example. Like, I've been living in Carmel and I learned the great tradition of foraging for chanterelle mushrooms and
Mm,
porcini mushrooms. So porcinis grow under pine trees, and chanterelle mushrooms grow under oak trees, but so does poison oak. You know, and so everything's designing into like a thought process of like, I want to play golf in the morning at the preserve. And then on the way home, I want to stop and fill a basket up of chanterelle mushrooms to then come home, clean them, cook them, and have risotto. Right. So, like,
mhm,
I'm going to do that, but I do need clothing in that dream. Right. So
yep,
now I need to design a collection that's called Foraging Fairways, and it's, you know, it's coming out next year. And then I got to design like footwear because I designed some boots with a collab partner because I need boots when I'm hiking through fucking poison oak and shit. And then
yep,
I got to do really cool gloves, and I got to do a foraging knife with a brush on one side of it so I could brush the tops of the mushrooms. So it's like I don't have any reason why I can't do that, where Adidas definitely has massive reasons why they can't do such a thing. So I can't just
mhm,
have like I can have a random idea and be like, you know, my whole company's built on like the why not in
yep,
everything. It's like I want to do a mushroom foraging collection that I want to design and et cetera. And it's like, well, why not? Like,
Mhm.
sure, I can do it. There's no one that's going to tell me I can't do it. I'm not based off of only what, Dick's Sporting Goods is going to buy and their big chains. So like, it's funny though, like, the it's these big companies have a lot of pressure from like their big chains, right? Where like if, you know, Golf Galaxy and Dick's Sporting Goods and, Roger Dunn and people like that don't like what they're making, then it's big, big, big problems. Like
Mhm.
it's massive problems where like it's a weird thing, but sometimes I joke where it's like these big brands, like the creative director is the buyer at Dick's. And that's just like the reality of how the situation is. And I know that all of those big brands feel that pressure. And you'll have like big boxes dictating the creative direction of a whole brand, right? Which
Mhm.
is like wild to me, where like I don't have that. Like I don't sell at Dick's Sporting Goods. You know what I mean? It's like I know who our community is and I know who our audience is and we're growing really quickly and I know that like I'm lucky enough to if I think something's, awesome, then like historically other people agree
Mhm.
to some degree, right? So like that's a blessing that I was like same as like I was saying, like you dress yourself, if other people say you look great, then thank God. But it's not,
Yep.
yeah, I'm not dressing for dicks, I'm dressing for myself, for this dream. And if other people want to participate in that and they want to be a part of that as well, then like I'm here for it. That's all I could really do. And that's no difference if it's like the Malbon Golf and Ski Club or Golf and Bass Club. Like I'm doing a new Golf and Bass Club collection, and it's like I grew up working on a golf course when I was 12 years old in Virginia Beach called Hell's Point, and I used to play golf. And then at the sunset, we would go out and we would catch largemouth bass. That's just
Mhm.
what we did. So like it obviously is easy for me to tap back into like 13-year-old me doing this experience of like catching bass while I'm like chipping and putting at sunset on a green that has a lake in front of it, so
Mhm.
it's growing up and living through these different things are what are driving the sporadicness of it in the outside view of us being, and it's another thing. It's like doing like a Willie Nelson collaboration and then, a month later doing a Ghostface Killer collaboration. Like
Yep.
I love Wu-Tang Clan and I love Willie Nelson. That's just how it is. It's not, I don't know why I do. I mean, I could assume why I lived in New York and my mom loved Willie Nelson. You know what I mean? But like, I actually genuinely love both Ghostface and Willie Nelson, and so I think it's okay for you to love both of those things and you to be passionate about both. And so we did a collaboration with both, but not. I'm not like only like a old school hip hop head. Like I got like Chief Keef collaboration 2 is coming right now with the Glow Gang, and
Mm.
there's a lot of these things are like personal relationships where I've been friends with Ghostface for 15 years, probably. Futura, I've known for probably 20 years that we have a collaboration coming out with Futura. And so someone who works with Willie Nelson that I've known for 15, 20 years hit me up and said, yo, I work with Willie and they want to do a project with golf and your name came up. Would you be down? And it's like, of
Love that.
course I'd be down. That's fucking Willie Nelson.
It's so funny because I have like a take about we talk about influencers and stuff all the time and like how they're impacting culture, but from like a macro standpoint, something that nobody talks about that I like really got insight from at the PGA show was like buyers. Like there's you don't want to be the person like you said, you don't want to be the individual in the room that makes the creative decision that winds up being the wrong decision that if it doesn't get bought in, it tanks a brand or takes a company from just a number standpoint whereas you're just goes back to like the mixtape reference. Like you guys just move faster, you have taste, you there's still structure, but you go
It
based off of
doesn't
gut and
matter. It's a
experience.
mixtape. It's not a
Exactly.
massive record. Like
You don't
it's
have to take it
having
on
that
tour.
freedom. Yeah, like it's the freedom of being able to just do a song and put it out and like see how the world likes it. But I'm not doing it for the sales. I'm just doing it because I think it's fly. And if other people do too, then great, you know? And
Mhm.
and I think there's like a level of like understanding and learning. And we're having like I hired a CEO and he's brilliant. And like it's really great to work with professionals that understand it. So, like when I design some weird shit and I'm not sure about it and then I don't care, but I am a realist and
You don't
realize
wanna put
like
yourself in a bad
like
situation.
but then it's like don't ever not make it, just order it, but order it appropriately. So
Mhm.
buy a small amount of something if it's, bugged out. Because
Mhm.
that's it, if it's risky, don't not make it, don't not put the song out, but just realize that like you're putting it out because you want to put it out. You're not putting it out because if I put this out, I'm guaranteed X amount of money. Then that stuff starts to be weird, and then you lose what we were originally started to do it for. Like
Mhm.
those big golf brands, like have to do like they have to do like 30 prints a year that will go on like synthetic polos every year. So if you
Mhm.
work at one of these companies for 10 years, you've produced 300 prints. So that's why you see bullshit where you see like palm trees and, daiquiris on all over prints in like Maine.
That are
You know what I mean?
all
Like,
designed on screens too, where it doesn't have that, like,
yeah,
personality,
it's
hand
it's
touch.
also it's the pressure. It's like I have to do 30 more. I have to do 30 more. I have to do 30
Yep.
more. I have to do 30 more. So of course you get burned out and you start just putting bullshit out there because like you're burnt and you're only
Mhm.
doing it because like your merchandising team makes you do 30 prints and you have to do 30 prints to put on quarter zips and polos and then shitty weird colors and then you're selling like, you know, cactus all over prints that are made for like Arizona, but you're
Yep.
selling that in like Chicago. It's like the
Mhm.
last time I went to Chicago, I didn't see any fucking cactus. But why every pro shop do I go in
Yeah.
the Midwest has like cactus and palm tree all over prints on synthetic weird polos. It's like
Mhm.
it's just lazy. It's not even lazy. It's just dictated by
You're just checking a box. It goes
yeah,
back to the
like
buyers, like, that's what they're
yeah, it's
asking
for the
for.
buyers. It's not lazy. It's just that's what the buyer wants. So make me 30 more printed, 30 more all over prints and like shut up with all that other shit. Like just
Mhm.
give me the 30 all over prints and we'll keep the massive boat going.
Yep.
And like we're a small boat and small boats take fast turns. Big boats take slow turns, Like we can come up with an idea and implement it in like a day.
Well, that's where I wanna go to your guys' pacing. Like, it is unreal. This is something that I constantly talk about, but, like, first off, how in the world, um, do you guys keep that pace? And, like, is that all intentional? Like, how far out are your guys' release calendar in terms of collection that you're
Far,
dropping?
dude. And then I work faster than like the production team and things like that. So, like I said, I'm designing spring, summer 27 right now.
Mhm.
And I have these hand of the artist things we do, which are like the ADD all over the place things, the bass club, the ski club, the tackle club, foraging fairways, all
Yep.
of these different things. So we do one of those a month. And then we do basically two different 6 month storytelling. So that would be spring, summer, fall, winter,
Yep.
with the 12 hand of the artist in between, one a month. And then we have collaborations and brand partnerships that get sprinkled in there as well. And then we also design our icons collection, which is like an
Mhm.
ever on basics, if you will, icons. And then we do our entire performance, collection, right? So there's a lot of things going on at once. And I guess the answer to like how do we do it, it's by staying really far out in advance. That's the
Mhm.
only way I can do it without like crippling my team or like making people have like panic attacks. You know, it's
Yep.
like we're designing so far out that like I'm also designing stuff where like foraging fairways. I designed it like a year and a half ago, and I think it's gonna come out in like November. But like I'm not dictating when things come out either.
Mm.
It's like I have a dream. This is the dream. I'm going to design it. I'm going to do X, Y, Z. I know the photo shoot's going to look like this. Here's the visual center. Here's the color story. Here's the graphics. Here's the all over print. Here's the merchandising plan of what bodies it should go on.
Yep.
Here's what I want it to be. And then I get it to that point and I'm like, all right, let me know when I need to do the photo shoot. But I
Mm.
don't care if it's in 2 months or 24 months. Like, I really don't care because I'm already moving on. And I only work like the first maybe 15-20% of the process, and then I work the last 15-20%. So I
To
work
close it
on,
all out.
yeah, I work at the beginning and I work at the end, and I leave it alone in at the middle. Like, I just
Mhm.
stay out of it, the whole like tech packing, sampling, fitting, ordering, merchandise plan, like all that stuff, forecasting,
Yeah.
wholesale. Like, I'm not involved with any of that. But then at
All the
the end, I
ops.
come back in and I'm very, very, very excited to like finish what I started, if you will.
Has there been anything when you do get ready to close stuff out that you caught and you're like, "This isn't hitting the way that I thought it or want it to hit," where you either iced it or you kinda try to just push through?
I will do like a review of like when you have everything in, and that's normally like right when we get that review is also when I'll start to like pair everything together and like kind of do like the style out, if you
Mhm.
will. So it'll
Yep.
be like, and then yeah, if something's nuts, I'll just say, don't, this doesn't, and there's also, I have really good people who are like fit people and they're like, this, I'm doing women's performance right now and we're on like version 4 of the women's leggings.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And it's like, so, but again, I don't have to launch it at any certain time. So, like,
Yep.
most of our business is direct to consumer. And yeah, we're in pro shops and we're, here or there and retail, boutique fashion spots in pro shops. But like, the majority is direct to consumer. So, if I'm planning on something coming out in April and it turns to May, it's like, it doesn't matter.
Yep.
It's not like I have to cram it and like push something through that doesn't feel like a good fit. I could just say, we're not going to do it."
Is there, like, either an article of clothing, a specific product, or a collection that you would point to be like, "This is Malbon, the best
Um,
representation of Malbon?"
I think that Heather athletic gray suit. I think Jason Day wearing sweatsuits on tour is like the most like flyest silhouette I've ever seen anyone golf in.
Mhm.
Like, just the look, like the look of him playing golf that comfortable and shooting 64 at Pebble. It's like, damn, this is it. And just like the photo
Yeah.
of him, like, and his caddy like walking down like number 9 with the ocean in the background at Pebble,
Mhm.
wearing a black on Saturday and a heather gray. And that was Jay's idea. He wanted to do that, and that's what he's comfortable wearing and such. And it was like, when I was on the driving range with him that Sunday morning, and first of all, Saturday he wore a black sweatsuit, right?
Yep.
Crew neck pants, but it had
Mhm.
rained and such. So I don't think anyone noticed that they thought it was a rain outfit because it was
Yeah,
back.
outerwear.
It fits. They thought it was like a rain suit. And then Sunday, he wore that Rocky Balboa, Heather Gray, athletic. You
I
know,
mean, it was wild. My
it's
my
just
my
like,
group chat just exploded that day.
but it's so sick that he did it. And we were on the range, and like Colin came up to me, and more Colin, he's like, "Dude, he's wearing a sweatsuit." I'm like, "Yeah, the guy's fucking the best. Like, he wanted to wear it. It was his idea. Like, he wanted to wear the thing." He's like, "I can't believe he's wearing a sweatsuit. Like, he can't." And then, like, when we walked down the range, like, not only the players but the caddies were like breaking their necks looking at him. Scotty Scheffler came up and was like, "Dude, "You're wearing a sweatsuit?" And he goes, Jay told him, he said, "Someone had to be the first one to do it. It might as well be me, mate." And
It's
that was it.
crazy.
And he's like, "You are such a legend." Like, that's how Jay looked at it. It's like, what's wrong with it? You didn't have
It's
felt
crazy
suit?
because that's everybody's, like, go-to is, like, just the
Yeah.
gray on gray, the black on like, everybody has a sweatsuit in their closet that they wear.
Yeah, it's wild.
It's insane. The other thing that we kinda talked about a little bit, but at the beginning was something that I, like, really appreciate from your perspective is just, like, what's going on around you. And I know that you're, like, mad competitive. Like, I know that that's in there, but you also have, like, this awareness of what other brands are doing in and out of golf, and projects, like, around you in a way add to, like, the value of what you guys are trying to do in the space, which is interesting. Like, where does that come from? Like, your respect and admiration for what's happening around you, but being able to still remain competitive, but know that, like, again, what's happening around you is adding value.
I mean, I think that like competition wise, like I'm my only competition in a sense that like if I stay inspired and I stay excited about life and design and, doing stuff, then like I don't really have to worry about what some other people would say is my competition or something. And
Mhm.
then also I think that like like I lived in New York when like all of the urban brands, right? Like Iniche and Fat Farm and Echo Unlimited and PNB Nation and like all of these brands that like I love and watch that all happen. But like it takes an army to like it takes a bunch of brands to make a movement. Like one
Mhm.
brand can't do it by themselves, right? Like Russell Simmons couldn't have made Magic turn from menswear with suits to like Nas at the Willie Esco booth. Like that happened, and like I watched it happen. So
Yep.
as much as people think it's competition, it's like everyone's doing it for the same point, and I feel like it's almost like a avalanche and I'm on like a snowboard in the front of the avalanche, and the more people who do it, the faster it pushes us,
Mhm.
and the more we all do it together in like strengths and numbers and things like that. And it's not only, you know, it's obviously seen our brand like inspire other brands, right? But it's like on both sides. It's seen like the up and comers feel like, wow, like if they're doing it, we can do it, which I
Yeah, you gave
love.
everybody
I
the green
love.
light.
And then on the other side, it's seen the big brands being like, well, if they're doing it, we should do it, And so it's like it's like a double-sided sword of like giving the green light both directions. Like
Yep.
it's okay for, you know, big brands to do XYZ, and it's okay for small brands to do XYZ. And if like we're inspiring, people will say things like, Malbon's disruptive. It's like I'm not trying to be disruptive at all. I'm trying to
Mhm.
be like inspirational and make people believe in themselves and make people proud of being different and things like this. And so if big brands can, drink that Kool-Aid and get involved and start doing that and pushing that messaging, then thank God. And if young brands can do it, then that's the best news ever. So it's,
Mhm.
like, and it's a big world, dude. It's like I just came from Vietnam and Philippines and like this little fucking fishbowl of America that we live in. At some point, it just gets very like, you know, golf is huge, but it's small. And like if I'm looking at like the magazines and golf magazines in Korea, Vietnam, and Manila, which I was, or in Philippines last week, like they look the exact same
Mhm.
as the golf magazines here, right? And like Carlsbad is every golf brand, right? So like if you're just like looking at it on that level, like it's very small, but the world's very big, and there's like weird shit that cultural things that people like argue with here about like tradition versus creativity and things like that, but like
Mhm.
they don't they don't care about that shit in Japan.
Mhm.
Like that's not
It yeah.
their, they don't wake up worrying about what like someone in Texas thinks compared to what someone in Portland, Oregon thinks. Like that's not a discussion that people in Vietnam have. And
Mhm.
you know,
No,
Vietnam is building 50 new golf courses in the next like 2 or 3 years just in Vietnam. So it's
yeah.
like it's a big world, and like fighting and being competitive and like going after people, it doesn't, you know, it doesn't do any good for anybody. So I just try to like
Mhm.
cheer for everyone and, you know, find my lane and kind of stay in there.
Yeah, I mean, that's always like a weird consistent sentiment that I get from people that will just like randomly DM me. They always ask like, "Do you feel like golf in general is oversaturated?" I'm like, your feed, your bubble, like the world that you are experiencing might be saturated, but like there's so much going on in and around the sport that you cannot there's just no way that you're experiencing all these different like insane touch points. And then going back to your point, like it takes a village to like move the needle. Like, yes, there's some cultural and significant moments that pop up, but there's so much work that's happening behind the scenes. Are there any brands in golf that you think should be getting more love that people just aren't paying attention to?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's up to them to get the love. Like it's, you got social media, you have a phone, you have everything you need. It's not about people shouldn't be sitting back like I don't get the love. It's like then go do something. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
If it's tough in your position, then on this side of the street, then fucking cross the street. You
Yep.
have all the access you need. You have a phone, you have YouTube, you have social media, you have, you have everything you could possibly need. You have a TV studio on your phone. You have Riverside to do podcasts. You have, what else do you need? This shit doesn't cost anything. I think
Mhm.
people start out with the old school way of thinking of like, I'm going to start a brand and I want to be like this brand and I'm going to make a graphic and I'm going to put it on a hat and a t-shirt and this, that, the other. And then you're going to go borrow money from your cousin and this person and that person and go make a fucking couple hundred shirts and then be sad that no one's buying them. It's like, who the fuck did you think was going to buy them? You got 800 followers on Instagram and you haven't posted in 3 weeks. Who's
Mhm.
going to buy them? It's not, it's like, why do you think someone was going to buy them? Like, I think it's people get a little bit naive to think that like, oh, I'm gonna make this great product, which is a hat or a polo or a crew neck or whatever the hell, and then like people are gonna buy it because it's fly. It's like, no, they're
Mhm.
not. They're not gonna buy it just because it looks good. Like you
Yeah.
have to figure out like, that's what people always hit, and they're like, do you have any advice? And I'm like, yeah, pay attention to your community and build your community and build your following and build your email list and build your social media and listen to your audience. And if your community wants to buy a hat from you, then make a hat and they'll buy it. But don't buy a
Mhm.
hat and then try to, I mean, we're selling golf balls, like, and they're selling really well, right? This Malbon Tour M ball that we've done. But like, I never started the company and thought, oh, I'm going to sell golf balls.
Yeah, yeah.
That wasn't, I never did that. And funny story, I'm at Pebble Beach putting with the ball, like the day it launched. I was putting at the Pebble down by the first tee, putting. And I look over to my left, and Scotty Cameron's coming out of one of the little stores. And I was putting with my wife, and I'm like, babe, that's Scotty Cameron. She's like, no, it's not. I'm like, it's fucking Scotty Cameron, dude. He's with his wife. There they are. So I run over to him and I'm like, Mr. Cameron, it's great to see you. I'm Stephen Marvin. Da, 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 da. And then he's like, yeah, I know who you are. Good to see you. And I said, yeah, good to see you, sir. And he's like, how is it being in the golf ball business? And like, I
Oh my
just
god.
dropped all the golf balls like yesterday.
Were
And I
they in the
said,
store?
yeah, they weren't in my store. They weren't selling at Pebble. Hell no.
Oh, I
Just
was gonna say,
on
oh,
my
that'd be wild.
website. And I'm just putting with them out here. But anyway, he said, how is it being in the golf ball business? And I said, well, I don't imagine I'm going to get rich or poor off of it. But, I play golf every day. So I needed a golf ball. And it's a really great ball. And I love the ball. And it works great for our brand partnerships. And it works great for collaborations. And I don't want to call Titleist when I'm doing a collaboration with fucking Tag Heuer. And what Titleist
Mhm.
has to do with this? I ought to do my own balls. So when I do a project with Tag Heuer, I can put Tag Heuer on our balls, and that's the ball I can play.
Yep.
And he's just like, but it was just interesting. It like I didn't set out to make putters or golf balls, or like when I started the brand, I had no idea what it would be. And I'm
Mhm.
still figuring out what it is. Like I didn't have a business plan. I didn't have a expectations, and if you don't have expectations, then you can't let yourself down and feel
Yep.
like a loser. Like my expectation was like keep myself and my family in the golf world. Like
Mhm.
that was it. It wasn't any deeper than that, and like golf is escapism as at its finest, and it's like the golf world is amazing, and there's opportunities everywhere in the golf world, and that whole invest in golf thing is like that's how we launched the brand with hashtag invest in golf. And like, your life can change in golf at any second. The people you get to rub shoulders with and the opportunities you get yourself in, it's insane being in the golf world at like how much opportunities you'll have just from being in the golf, just from
Mhm.
playing golf, and like a wise man once told me that the lion that waits by a water hole will always get a zebra.
Mm.
And like the golf world is the biggest water hole ever.
Yep.
Oh, it's like your good things are gonna happen. You're gonna make money. You're gonna figure your way out. You're gonna be safe. Like when I moved to Atlanta, I didn't have any clue what was going on. I went from Virginia to Colorado to Atlanta, and now I'm in art school in Atlanta, and Atlanta was fucking still is a wild place. So I was there. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. I didn't know which way to go, and there was so much new stuff for my brain that it was like, fuck, I'm gonna just go caddy. I'm gonna go
Mhm.
to Atlanta National and caddy because I know I'll be safe. I know I can make money. I know I'll find a group of people that will be my tribe. And like that's what happened. The next thing you know, I'm like playing poker with the other caddies, and they're from 60 years old to 16 years old, and you see them same dudes every day. So I would caddy in the morning and go to art school in the afternoon, or I'll go to art school in the afternoon and caddy in the afternoon, and I do that shit 5 days a week, and it saved my life multiple times, and that was definitely one time where my life could have got turned upside down pretty quick. Being
Got a little wild.
yeah.
It's funny because like I had mentioned, I'm a huge fan of Tinker Hatfield. He has a quote that says, "When you sit down to design something, what you draw and design is a culmination of everything that you have seen and done in your life previous to that point," which is basically the entirety of this conversation that we've had. Like you being around the world, your family's like very involved. You've built out your team. Like, what do you think you've learned most about yourself, um, just building Malbon?
I think that like being ADD'd out and being having like addiction in your blood is like it's not all good, but it's not all bad. And
Mhm.
there are superpowers that come with the with those two things, like having dyslexia and like not being able to read properly and shit, and like it that sucks on one side, but it's also amazing because you look at all problems differently, and I think that that's what makes things special is being able to look at stuff differently and from a different view and bringing all of those learnings through, and um being obsessive and like you know right now, like on paper, I should not be designing spring, summer 27, right? Like it's too far out. But
Mhm.
for me, it's like, well, I want to, like I want to design a collection a month. I want to design, we design two collections a year. I want to do nine, photo shoots for spring, summer, and nine for fall, winter. And I want to design. When we hired our CEO, he's like, "Do you have any worries about bringing in the CEO?" I'm like, "Yeah, you're not going to let me do fucking 8 photo shoots a month." That's my worry. Like I don't. see any of this as work. It's like my wife sometimes says, like, can't you just stop working? It's like, no, I don't want to. Like, if I'm painting a painting, I want to keep painting the painting. I don't, it's not work. Like, I
Mhm.
love design and I love storytelling and I love, putting stuff out to the world and seeing the reaction from what came from my brain to paper to Instagram or TV commercial or whatever. Like, I love films and I love content and I love all of this stuff. So it's not work. It's like one of the my company, there's like, I said the why not thing, like instead of saying why, just say why not. And then the other
Mhm.
one is like, it beats work. Like
Yep.
it's like we're going to Augusta and we're running a hospitality house, and I have clients and I have guests and I have this and I have that, and I'm doing podcasts and I'm doing other people's podcasts, and JR's at the crib and we're doing that podcast, and I'm doing, 6 photo shoots during the week while we're there and hosting tons of people and have big ass meetings with like golf distributors from around the world and retailers and etc. But it's like I would do that for free.
It's
That
a
sounds
field
like
trip.
the best week ever.
Yeah.
It's not work. So I think just being so passionate about something, I think it's like I learned a long time ago, like if you're gonna do something in an entrepreneurial way, you have to be so deeply in love with what you're doing that you will not quit. And if you love it
Mhm.
enough, you won't quit. So if you had a partner and you were dating someone and you're in love and your mom and your grandma and all your homies are like, bro, this isn't it. That person's not for you. You can't, this is bad, bro. You tell your grandma to fuck off. You're so in love, and it's like that's called blind love. Like you're so
Mhm.
in love with what you're doing that if you look at logic, you should not start a company. It's too
Mhm.
fucking hard. The ups and downs are a fucking roller coaster, and it's good news in the morning and shitty news in the afternoon, and it is fucking hard. But
Mhm.
if you love it enough, it's not. It's just like part of it. It's part of it. And you just keep going because you love it and it'll work itself out.
Yeah, that body of work is important. The reps is really important. Speaking of things that are different from like a content perspective that I've noticed over the last like 2 to 3 years, stuff that always rips is anything Tiger Woods related, obviously. The other random one is Ricky Fowler. Like people just love Ricky. And the last one is most recently just Jason Day fits. Like how much fun are you guys having with JD and like the rest of your brand athletes?
It's great, dude. Like I'm a fan of Jason, he's a great dad and a great husband and he's a businessman and he's the fucking best. Like Jason's the best. Like like I love playing golf with him. I like hanging out with him. I love going to dinner with him. I love his kids. Like he's great. But then on the other side, like we have like Charlie is like one of my favorite people in the world. Charlie Hall
Mm,
is no one better than Charlie. And I think we've been very, very lucky and got kind of two unicorns. Like there's no one else like Jason on the men's tour, and there's no one else like Charlie. And we only have Jason, and we have Jesper Parnevik on the Champions Tour, who's again, he's one of my favorite people I've ever met in my life, Jesper. And his
mhm,
family are as cool as humans as you will ever fucking meet. And then on the women's side, we have like, we have Bianca, Natalia, and Minji, and Gigi. Like we have a great team, and we're doing this whole like campaign that's actually launching, this week, and it's that the making the green the common ground. And
mm,
like there's a commercial, one of the first ones. It's Jason Day playing with Bat, this dude Rika, who's one of his best friends, who he grew up with. My son Remington and Antonia, and Antonia is from up here in Monterey area, and she plays on the Epson tour. But filming those dudes playing golf together with that group of people, it's like Jay's on a private jet, Remy's like borrowing money, and Antonia's struggling on tour, and Rika's like a personal assistant in Ohio or some shit. But like when they go on the golf course, they're best friends. And
yep.
it's like the golf course doesn't care how much money Jason has or how much money, Antonia doesn't have. Like
Yep.
they both got a 25-foot slider for birdie, and like they don't care that Jason was world number one. He's
Mhm.
either gonna make the putt or he's not, So there's
Yep.
this whole campaign, and then the next one after that is Bianca, who got like fourth place in the Olympics. She's a Filipino star. Bianca with Gary Sheffield, Jesus Goff, and Minji Lee. That's the second one, and then the third one is Charlie Hall, Natalia, Scarface from Houston, Scarface, and my boy Dalton, who's the cowboy Casanova. So then we shot those four. And then the last one is Ryan Ruffles, Schoolboy Q, this girl Nikki, who's plays high school up in Monterey on her way to Harvard, and Jesper Parnevik, right?
Mm.
It's like you got the high school golfer chick, and you got Jesper Parnevik and Schoolboy Q and Ryan Ruffles. But like these are the most fun groups you could ever like to be a fly on the wall at just them
Yep.
having lunch and the banter of them in the group text talking shit to each other. It's just like that's very important to me in golf, and I think that it's nice to be able to put ourselves out there as like not taking ourselves that serious, and like
Mhm.
the journey to the course and the banter on the group text and picking out your fits and who you're playing with and what's the bet and who you're going to ride with in the cart and this person versus this person and all the banter and like who's getting strokes and what's the game and all that shit. It's way more fun than like grinding out bogeys. Like
Yep.
that's a grind. That shit might be fun if you're lights out, but I mean, Tiger Woods, they said when you've won all these tournaments, like how many tournaments did you have your A game? And he said he's like three.
Mhm.
Fool wins like 80 times or something. And like only three times he was
When he was
really
really on?
on. Every
That's
other time
crazy.
it's a grind. Golf's hard. So it's like it's grinding is fun, but it's not as fun as it is like the anticipation of the kill, you get more dopamine than you do actually on the kill. So, like,
Mhm.
thinking I'm gonna hit the best 7 iron I ever hit right now, that's when the dopamine's released in your brain. The anticipation of, like, I might do the impossible right now and make a fucking hole in one with this
The
7 iron.
hero shot.
And then you top it in the water. You know what I mean? It's like, fuck. But then it's
Uh,
like in order to get back at it, it's like, okay, well, I topped that one in the water. Now I'm gonna drop, but I
yeah.
might hit this fucking eight
Go
iron
right
in the
back.
hole.
Yeah.
I might get up and down for fucking bogey, baby.
Uh, that is crazy. So obviously, like, with the first major around the corner too, like, is there any part of you based off of what happened last year that just makes you wanna, like, circle a few tournaments this year and, like, try to break the internet?
Nah, that was a total accident. What we did, I had no idea Jay would be played with Tiger. He liked certain shit out of our spring collection. That internet turned something that was if I go to your crib for dinner and you say take your shoes off before I come in the house, I would just take my shoes off and we would never talk about it again. And that's
Mhm.
really all that happened at Augusta. They said, Mr. Dave, would you mind taking that vest off? And he said, yeah, sure, mate. That's it. But then the internet and the divisiveness of golf and of humans, and you got half the people yelling about this, the other half yelling about that, and it's like I'm in the middle. Like, why doesn't everyone just calm down? Like, it's not that serious. None of this shit. It's not
None of
real.
it.
It's not real. It's like for clicks and weird shit. But like, we're cool with Augusta, and you know what I mean. Like, I'm friends with a lot of people who work at Augusta, and like, that's not nothing has been you can't make this stuff up. Like if I tried to do that, that wouldn't have worked. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? It's like
It's
if I
always like
set out
that.
to sell golf balls, then I would have probably fucking been out of business by now. So
Mhm.
I think it's just, putting Jay in stuff he's comfortable with and questioning, what is golf attire and like being respectful at the same time. But having that balance of like respecting the traditions and respecting the future and creativity and celebrating the differences of people. And Jay's not exactly like all those dudes on tour. He's
Yeah.
not. As a human, he's just not the same as them. And I'm not like the creative slash buyers from Dick's, like
Mhm.
I'm not like them, and Jay's not like every other dude at Augusta. So it's like I'm excited just to keep rocking, and we've got Jay in a couple days. He goes from wearing the Futura stuff to wearing some of our, spring summer line that's much more GQE, traditional, clean, understated. Futura has been one of my favorite artists for his forever. And it's a culturally relevant moment for like Jason Day to wear a Futura Malbon collaboration at Augusta. Like that
Mhm.
already is crazy significant to me. And if
No.
it's to other people, then great, but like it's already like I got a, we make putters, limited edition putters. Like I have a
Mhm.
Remington Mallet putter Futura edition, and I got a Futura golf bag that like I'm gaming, and it's like I could
Yep.
just retire now. I could just that's it. Like I don't know what else I could do. The fact that Jay's gonna wear it at Augusta, it's like,
Yeah.
sheesh.
I mean, you're not, pedaling around a coffee shop waiting for a compliment. Like, this is your body of work. You know
Yeah,
you get
it
ripped.
is what it is. Exactly.
Well, cool, man. I mean, the last question that I had that I ask everybody on their way out, you could take a minute to think about it, but what's the story behind the one item in your closet you'll never get rid of? And like, what does it mean to you?
Some dude gave me a Scotty Cameron putter, a very nice man, as a birthday gift. And he said, I hope you like it. It was expensive as fuck. And I'm like, why'd you buy this fucking thing for me, bro? I don't even use blade putters. And then I looked it up, and it's like worth like 30 grand or some shit. And so like
Mm.
I don't even know what to do with it. But I'm
Should be
not
in some
getting rid of
museum
it.
somewhere.
I'm not getting rid of that motherfucker. I tell you that. It's just in the garage in my fucking man cave. And then Remington has a set. I had um a Japanese club builder, handmade forged irons and Japanese steel. And he
Mm.
made me a set of blades. And I'm not gonna start playing blades at this point. I'm not going to a 3 iron to pitch and wedge
It's already
blades.
hard enough.
And that ain't where I'm headed right now. At this point in my career, I'm not doing that. But when Remington, my 13-year-old, when he went from US kids clubs, they were teeny, these little kids clubs. So the next set, and he played from probably when he was like, 6 to 11, he played with those blades, and they say Malbon on them, and they're fucking gorgeous. So I got them
That's
in the
sick.
man cave too. And they have these little short ass Fujikura shafts, senior
Mhm.
flex shafts. And when I asked Fuji, I said, well, I don't know what shafts I got to get my man Fuji Pat, who does it on tour for Fujikura. He's like, well, Tiger just had Charlie Woods do like a 3 hour fitting. How about I just send you Remington the same shafts that Charlie's using? I'm like, yeah, that'll work, bro. Just send that. That's it. So I got that set out there, and that one putter, and anything else is up for grabs. I don't keep as much stuff. I try to be careful with the thirst is travel lightly, and don't take too much stuff with you, because thirst is a very dangerous thing. You know what I mean?
For sure. Well, man, I appreciate it. Love the conversation. We'll have to do this again. I know people are like really antsy to hear from you. Your availability is also
Uh,
something that I always really appreciate. But yeah,
for
appreciate you, man. Is there
sure.
anything else you want to shout out on the way out?
No, I'm good. Thank you for having me, homie. Good shit.
Awesome.
See y'all around the corner.
All right, that's a wrap for today's episode. If you're feeling the vibe, hit that subscribe button and drop us a quick review. It helps us keep the conversation going and growing. For more golf fashion, follow us over at Skratch and Golf Projects. We're always serving up style and stories that make this game what it is. And if you're hungry for even more, head over to Skratch.golf, where our collective stories live. Until next time, dress well and play fast. Peace.